Imagine this. Today, you wake up in a comfy bed, cozy room, and even a roof over your head. But who knows? The next day, you could be waking up to a bustling road on your side, the sun rays hitting your eyes and making you squint in pain. Have you ever imagined sleeping out cold on the streets or moving from one place to another without knowing what's coming for you next? Homelessness is a state of having no home, let alone money to spend on daily necessities. In Malaysia, the number of homeless has climbed in recent years. According to Aliran 2023, 20 to 30% of city inhabitants have been affected by this growing issue since the COVID-19 pandemic began. The numbers do not even include the hidden homeless, which are those who live with others temporarily without possessing permanent properties. So why do you think this issue has become such a never-ending cycle of problems? The thing is, you should know that this matter should not be taken lightly because anyone could fall into this misery. Now let's discuss on the three major root causes of homelessness in Malaysia, which are unemployment, low earnings, and the negative attitudes of the homeless themselves.
First and foremost, homelessness in Malaysia is caused by the fact that these people are unemployed. Unemployment is no more common nowadays. The lack of job vacancies for low-educated people in Malaysia will be the cause why these people are jobless. Companies nowadays require employees to have an education certificate. However, due to economic problems, parents cannot afford the high cost of living, let alone send their children to school. Those with a low educational background find it hard to secure a job, as most companies prefer those with a high educational background. For example, to be a cleaner, a person must have a UPSR certificate. Based on Berita Harian, 18th July 2022 by Suzalina, there were about 32 million Malaysians who did not accept any education. This situation is the reason why people are still jobless, since companies are looking for those with educations. The next reason for unemployment is due to our current socio-economic crisis. In 2020, COVID-19 reached Malaysia and affected us in so many ways. Due to the recent outbreak of COVID-19, many companies fired their workers to reduce their operational costs so that company could have sufficient liquidity to tide over this difficulty. According to an article by the journalist Hinga, which said, quote, some locally grown airlines, for example, Malindo Air, had thrown in the towel due to various cash flow problems over the one-year lockdown period, resulting in the majority of its staff losing their jobs, with only 1,000 staff remaining employed. Unquote. This proves that people are getting fired, which leads to having no money and finally being homeless.
The second cause of homelessness in Malaysia is low earnings. Those who depend solely on their low-skilled job, which offer low-paying income, might be at risk of being homeless. As we all know, individuals with low-paid jobs often struggle with the rising cost of housing in Malaysia. As the price of house increase, it will affect their budget for other essential needs such as groceries, healthcare, and utilities. Year after year, the government tried to improve the cost of living in our country by raising workers' income and raising the price of things. However, not all employers pay workers due to the government request. So those who are homeless are able to pay for food but still can afford to rent a house. It is a known fact that high living expenses are something that one could never escape. The average cost of living in Malaysia varies depending on factors such as location, lifestyle, and family members. People who live in the city have higher living expenses than the countryside. According to the recent estimation, one person spent around 2,500 ringgit to 3,000 for living expense. As for the family, it was around 7,000 to 9,000 ringgit per month that was expected to be spent. As a result, when the life costs increase, they prefer to be homeless and use their income for more important basic necessities.
Last but not least, the cause of homelessness in Malaysia is the negative attitude of the homeless themselves. Some homeless people have a shallow mind because they were taught from a young age that it is easier to be homeless and beg for money rather than work. For instance, my hometown Tawau is known as the land of homeless beggars. These problems are unresolved even though many actions have been taken by the government. It is because the beggars teach the children to be just like them, as they thought it is easier to get income by being beggars and staying homeless, as they will receive income from the government aid without having any needs to work. In 2016, Liu cited in the Malaysian People's Movement Party. This group of foreign beggars have brought along babies and children as a tool of sympathy in begging, which has resulted in a deformed society and creates a negative impact on Tawau. The authorities concerned should not only look at them from another angle when they are begging for love, but think out of the box about the severity of the impact. The Hare, who only learned the way to live as the ancestor taught, did not know how else to survive, so they just continued the life chain by being homeless beggars. Moreover, the problem happens due to the attitude of despair of the homeless. Looking at the way these homeless people think, no wonder there were folks who said, if someone wants to do something, that individual will try to do it. If someone doesn't want to do something, they will give excuses. Sometimes they worry more than take a prompt action to tackle their dire living conditions, which leads them to a moment of despair. The constant emotional struggle, fear, stress, and depression affect their mental health, and they cannot help but feel hopeless in the time of difficulty. Therefore, the homelessness remained unsolved, and there were more homeless hovering around.
Now you know that homelessness might occur or continue when you are jobless, have low income, and have negative attitudes. So as a student, you should start focusing on your studies seriously to maintain excellent academic performance, so there is a high possibility for you to secure a job in the future. Remember, early action will let you wake up to a future with big houses, big dreams, and big dreams.